welcome to another episode.
Yes, we support each other as much as we can, so I appreciate that. Hey sis, really us doing the work so that we are creating space for ourselves to heal and also for the generations before us.
I'm here to challenge you to do it a little different this year. I am actually challenging you to do the work from the inside out. All right, let's get into it.
Hello there. I hope Nelson, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I just unmuted myself. Okay. Hi to everyone. Those who are already here and who are going to be joining us. Welcome to another live with Hanifa Nayela. I am here as usual every Friday at 5 p.m. Sometimes by my lonesome self, sometimes with a guest. And today I actually have a special guest with that is going to be having a special conversation, and I'm going to get into why, Nelson, I wanted to have this conversation. And so first, let me just welcome you. I know this is your first time to the platform. I know this is our first time actually speaking to each other, but I'm looking forward to the conversation. And again, thank you for sharing your time with me this evening. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Thank you for inviting me. It's a real, it's a pleasure and an honor to be up here. So I appreciate you thinking of me.
Thank you. So I'm just gonna go over some quick little house things while people come in. I have if anyone is watching, you want to subscribe if you haven't already, share, like if it's something that you are gaining from, make sure that you share the information with others. If you are wondering how can I donate to the platform, you can, my Cash App is at the bottom. And if you're not following me already and you want to follow me on Instagram, you can do that at The Real Hanifa Nayela on Instagram. I am not going to prolong any much longer. I want to get right into this. So, Nelson, the reason why I brought you here today is because narcissism and narcissistic, and this person is a narcissist. It's almost like a buzzword right now, right? It's like we're in a matrix and someone just downloaded this buzzword of narcissist. This person is a narcissist. And so I personally cannot speak on the topic on my own. I would rather bring somebody in that's a professional. And this is why you're here, because I really want to delve into this, because I feel like there's a lot of armchair diagnosis happening. And people are pointing out certain traits in people and just labeling the whole entire person a narcissist simply for being, maybe they're a jerk, maybe they're self-consumed, maybe they're just conceited, whatever that is. They label the person a narcissist. So this is like a hot word right now, right? The ex that you were with and they were just selfish. You know what? That person is a narcissist. I mean, it's just being tossed around. So this is why I brought you here today, so that we can have this particular conversation. But before we delve into it, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Who are you? What do you do? And why do you think you can speak on this particular topic?
Okay, so thanks again for having me. My name is Gary Nelson. I am a licensed professional counselor, and I am a nationally certified counselor. So I provide counseling. So I oversee a counseling program for high school students. So I run a program that provides individual, family, and group counseling for them. And in the evening, I also run my own private practice counseling, where I see children to adults for a wide range of issues. And what I've been noticing is, especially kind of in the content creator realm, is that the word narcissist has been thrown around everywhere. Even just in our general conversations, we tend to throw that word out there to describe a person. And a lot of times it's like we come across somebody that's arrogant and we say they're a narcissist, or we come across somebody that's been rude to someone and we say they're a narcissist. And we are really diminishing the seriousness of what a narcissist actually is. And so when you actually come across one and meet one, and like, God forbid, get in a relationship with one, it can have devastating side effects inside of your life. And you try to explain to people like what's going on in your life and who you're dealing with, and they don't understand because they're just looking at narcissists as somebody that's just a jerk. But it's so much more.
Okay, so you sort of direct me to the first question. So if it's so much more, and we are lacking understanding in the around the fullness of what narcissism really is, can you define in your own words, or can you define what narcissism is?
Yes. So one of the first places we mess up is we think that we can meet somebody one time and we notice that they're arrogant and we say that they're a narcissist. It's not a one-time thing. So narcissism is a pervasive pattern of grandiosity, either in fantasy or in their behaviors. So feeling too high about themselves or having an unrealistic view of themselves, a lack of empathy, and an excessive need for admiration. So it is a pattern, a continuing pattern of that. And in order to qualify as in order to qualify as actual narcissistic personality disorder, you actually have to meet a certain amount of criteria. So there's like 9 different areas where you're evaluated, and you have to have at least 5 of them. So you have to have the lack of empathy, you have to have a sense of entitlement, you have to have the grandiosity or the unrealistic view of yourself. You have to be preoccupied with fantasies about your beauty or your intelligence or your success, or you have to believe that you are unique and set apart and you're special and that you can only be associated with certain types of people. You have to be someone that is a manipulator, so interpersonally exploitive. So think about, we've all met someone that fits one of those, has one of those types of qualities. Well, a narcissist has 5 of those qualities. So thinking about all of those things in one person, that's what separates it.
As you are speaking, some of the things you were listing, I was like, why wouldn't that just be a confident person, right? In my head, I was listening to you listed, and I'm like, okay, I get what you're saying now. It's like on the extreme end of it, right? But some of it sounded a little bit like, and you could correct me here, but it sounded a little bit like people who have like bipolar and they're having those episodes where they're on like on a high, almost like they feel like they can fly. Like some of it sounded like that when you were speaking, and then another part of it sounded like, hey, it just sounds like a confident person, I'm like, do we know confident people, or we might say arrogant people that may be narcissistic?
Oh yeah, definitely. When you look at content creators, one thing I've been noticing, you look at a lot of dating gurus. I've been seeing a ton of dating gurus that are narcissists inside of this space. Not all of them, and there's some immediate ones that I'm sure people are thinking about. I'm not talking about the recently deceased Kevin Samuels. That is not who I'm referring to, because I do not believe he was a narcissist at all.
Okay.
But yeah, we can you repeat the question? I'm sorry, I got it. I lost my train of thought.
Saying, like, is there people who we just look at we might just look at it as they're just confident or even arrogant, and maybe they're dealing with some form of narcissism?
Oh yeah, so it actually it shows itself as confidence. When you meet this type of person, they can be very charming, they can be extremely sweet, they can say everything that makes it seem as though they're just extremely confident. But we do have to recognize the difference between confidence and having the belief in our own abilities to be able to do something. And when confidence goes across the line into arrogance, which is I have the belief that I can do something, even if I don't have the qualifications to do it, and I'm the best person who's ever done it. No one can do it like me.
Okay, I got you. So here's the thing. What okay, so I want you to get into this. Why do you think, and maybe it's in this space in particular, in the YouTube space, or just social media in general, why do you think that this is such a buzzword right now in this time, in this season? Why is narcissist, or calling each other narcissists, is such a hot thing right now? Why do you think that is?
So Narcissist has been around for a long time, but it has been gaining, I would say, more traction nowadays. I attribute it to the social media age.
Okay.
Because we have such an increase in Instagram, where we are creating these fake personas and displaying ourselves one way, and our life is completely different. We have been using these social media platforms to be able to create a fantasy of what we believe things the world should look like. And so, since we're seeing a lot of regular people that are not narcissists do those types of behaviors, we're now getting that confused and calling a lot of just regular people narcissists. So I do believe that a lot of it is attributed to this false sense of reality, or this bubble that we kind of live in with social media. And even with content creators now, you can have, how easy is it to get behind a computer, turn on a camera, and begin talking about how other people should live their life as if you have the perfect life, when nobody can evaluate the things that you say and whether you really live the life that you say. So YouTube is a playground for narcissists, because it gives them that audience, it gives them that self-admiration that they crave so much. So they tend to gather large followings very quickly because of their charisma, because it looks like confidence, and because they use two very important tools that are able to kind of manipulate people. So one, they use gaslighting, and two, they use love bombing. So in the YouTube space, the love bombing is incredibly powerful. So you see a lot of these content creators that'll jump on, and they also speak on a female, and they'll dress up sexy, come on and speak very softly. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my page. And they have things showing, and they create their space as if it is a unique subset of people. So I've been seeing now people have been starting to come up with these different titles to define a lot of Black people. So I've been hearing terms like ADOS, it was FBA, Foundational Black Americans, things like that. So these little terms to divide people has been coming up. And so they're using these little terms to say this space is for these types of people, and these are my people, and these people are unique, and they're set apart, and they're special. They're the money chasers, they're the go-getters. Because you came to my channel, you're the ones that are focused on handling your business, and everybody else is just getting lost in the numbers. So YouTube is a great space to be able to kind of shape and manipulate people's minds in that way.
Whoa, you said a whole lot, right? So, and that was good. So what I'm going to take you back, I need you to do for me, for people who may not know two of the terms that you just used, if you could just quickly explain what they are, because you said that these are some of the tactics that narcissists or people that have narcissistic, personality may use. You mentioned gaslighting and you mentioned love bombing. So can you quickly tell us what gaslighting means for those of us who are watching and we may not know, and what love bombing is?
Sure. So gaslighting is creating a false narrative or a false story, um, and presenting it to you as reality in such a way that it causes you to question your own sanity. It causes you to question your own judgment. So it's used in a sense where picture somebody that cheats on you, and when you confront them and you're so upset about them cheating on you, they are able to kind of spin things to where it's like, well, you created this scenario that I had to cheat. I did it because I love you, because I wanted to spare you from this or that, and you really drove me to this because you hadn't been giving me anything in all this time, and they able to manipulate the story in such a way to where you're like, well, was I really at fault? Did I really make this person cheat on me? And it causes you to start to question your own judgment. They are very good at manipulating things and manipulating that person in that way to where you start to question every judgment that you have, every decision that you make. They are able to make you kind of question that. So that's gaslighting. And love bombing. Love bombing is giving excessive praise or compliments that are unrealistic, or it could be based in realism, but it could be not applicable to the moment. So imagine going on a first date with someone, and this person is talking to you like, you are so beautiful. Like, I've never met anyone like you in my entire life. Just even sitting here with you now, I could just picture myself with you for the rest of my life. Like, I mean, how many kids would you want to have? Like, being able to giving you all the things that you want to hear, presenting that to you, and making you feel as though you're a queen or you're a king, and then quickly changing that. So it goes through a cycle. Narcissists use this cycle to kind of manipulate people. They love bomb. That's what draws you in. That's what reels you in. Then they devalue. So that same pedestal that you now that they placed you on, making you feel like you're a queen, now they devalue you now and make it seem like you have done something that is beginning to cause them to shift that opinion. And think about somebody that looks at you and just adores you, the thought of disappointing that person. So if they say that you did something that disappointed them, you'll be like, no, I want you to keep this image of me because this is I really am this person. I am this great person that you're saying that I am. So you begin to now try to adjust and appease this person because they've been devalued you. So then comes it comes the violent part, or it could be violence. It could be physical. A lot of times it's emotional. And this is where they manipulate you. This is where, if it is physical abuse, you are abused. And this is where the emotional tactics of the gaslighting comes in, and things like that, where they're taking complete advantage of you to the point where you kind of know what's going on, and you get to the point where you can get fed up with it. And you get fed up with it. You finally reach your breaking point, say, all right, I'm done, I'm leaving. And what they do is they apologize, and they apologize through love bombing again. So it could come in the form of, now it's a proposal. Like, just now it's the new thing that they said that they knew that you wanted, or they knew something that you were really insecure about. They find a way to exploit that and make it and present it to you in a loving way. So they use the things that they know that you want to hear, and they use that to reel you back in, and the cycle just keeps going and going.
Nelson, I thought of a couple of movies when you was explaining that. And it's and I'm gonna get into this with you as well, because what you was describing is actually, it's almost like a form of violence. It's a form of violence. But quickly, because I'm gonna get into these other questions. I What I've heard of narcissism, I heard that there's a small percentage of people who are actually diagnosed with narcissistic personalities. Do you think that number is much higher? It's just that a lot of people have not seen a psychiatrist or therapist yet. Do you think that's, go ahead?
Yeah, I'm definitely convinced the number is much higher. I think right now sitting at, they say it's about 5% of the population, maybe as much as 10. But the problem with diagnosis is, you think about that personality type, that's not the personality type that tends to come to counseling. So a lot of times that person ends up getting diagnosed as a secondhand way. Narcissists tend to bring in their partner to counseling and tell the counselor that she is the problem or he is the problem, and the counselor needs to fix them. So the counselor has to be if the counselor is any good, if the counselor is listening to their story and like really picking apart what's kind of going on, a good counselor will be able to pick out those traits and say, okay, actually, I think this is what's going on. You're showing these qualities, and that it's more diagnosed that way.
Okay. So a lot, like when you just described that, when you said, there's people that I know that won't take accountability for their own actions. I'm not sure that I'm willing to jump to calling them a narcissist. So I want you to talk to us a little bit about how do we differentiate between traits and an actual diagnosis? Because I feel like we all might have, when you have like some symptoms of something and you're like, let me Google this, and you go on there and it's like, oh my God, I'm dying, right? That's sort of how I feel we are as people, where it's like they have this trait, like maybe narcissists. So can you talk to us about the difference between traits and an actual diagnosis?
Well, so traits simply lead to the diagnosis. Okay. So when you think about a person that you're seeing with these different traits, now, of course, our everyday people are not going to be able to accurately diagnose it, but you have to. I always recommend that we really memorize what the criteria is to make someone a narcissist, and watch this person over time. Because if you see at least 5 of these traits that is constant, that is pervasive, then you have a good idea if that person is a narcissist. With a lot of us regular people that don't have this disorder, we can show a trait once in a while. We don't usually show 5 traits on a continuing basis. So it's really, when you think about it, it's really easy to differentiate. So I want to give an example of, so I wouldn't get in trouble for saying this one. Everybody knows Donald Trump. If you take a look at his personality, if you listen to the things that he says on a regular basis, it's always something great that he has done. When it comes to something being wrong, you've never heard him take accountability. It's always been someone else's fault, or it's a manipulation to where it's like the thing that was wrong is actually right. There's always the self-admiration. There's always the manipulating other people. He manipulated a whole party of people. He's the most easy person to say this is a narcissist, because it's so overt, it's so right in front of your face that people either love him and they're completely brainwashed by him, or they hate him. That's a key thing with a lot of these types of people, with narcissistic types of people. They tend to be polarizing people. So you either love this person or you hate him. So think about that. He's on the extreme side, and I'm not saying that to say it's a diagnosis, but I'm just saying I'm somebody that shows those traits a lot of times. The other is LeBron James, famous basketball player. It's more of a sneaky thing. It's more covert. It goes under the radar because all of the admiration and the praise is formulated around being a social activist, being a great father, being the best player to ever play basketball. And you listen to them talk, everything revolves around them. Whenever they go somewhere, whenever they go to another team, everybody is just in awe because the team is doing great. And then things quickly over time begin to fall apart. The person jumps ship and goes to the next greatest thing and continues this cycle. So these personalities are really distinct when you know what you're looking for.
So I didn't want to I am going to go back because you said something about the people around narcissistic people. So I don't want to jump ahead. So let me just ask this question first. Mm-hmm. Is a narcissist created or is a narcissist born? And if they are created, under what circumstances tends to produce a narcissistic personality?
So the exact cause is actually not completely known yet, okay. But there's been links to there's thought to have been links to like trauma that's experienced in childhood, the traits of your parents. So what if your parents were overprotective or underprotective and was just loose with everything? Environmental influences of friends and things like that. And even so social media is now also has a hand in creating the mindset that leads to narcissism. So it's not something that you get, like you don't catch it like a cold kind of thing. It doesn't come on. It's like, it's who you are. Mm-hmm. Like I always make that distinction. Something like depression or anxiety, you get those things. You get depressed. You get anxious. Okay. With narcissists, it's who you are. It's your character. Mm-hmm. It's your person. So it's a completely different way of diagnosing. It's a completely different way of even working with those types of people.
So when you said, my heart just dropped when you said it's who you are. I'm like, so no salvation? Like there is no cure for this thing. There is no medication. So there's no medication, no cure, none of that for a narcissist. How does a narcissist? Okay, go ahead. Answer that question.
It would be long-term therapy. Okay. And the therapy is really directed at. So when you think about a narcissist, think about all the character traits that you have that are positive. Integrity, loyalty, wisdom, knowledge. Think of yourself as having a little bit of each of these traits, and that's what constitutes a normal person. A narcissist has a deficiency in all of those traits. May have one trait that is excessive and a complete lack of all the other traits that are necessary that make up a good, a sound judgment, moral type of person. So when you are working with a narcissist, your job is to now strengthen those other traits. You're working to develop the wisdom. You're working to develop the integrity, the loyalty. So that is kind of, they have to commit to long-term therapy. So there's no, magic wand type of thing, no medication that's going to cause them, because remember, it's who you are. So it's a lot of work that goes into you're reframing their whole ideology. think you're muted.
I went mute. I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. My ad speak says, is it detrimental to tell a narcissist that they are a narcissist? Wouldn't they just try to prove that they aren't one?
Yeah, well, when a narcissist knows that you kind of picked up on them, you found out who they are, it tends to have bad repercussions. So if it's in a relationship, this person may honestly leave you and go on to the next person because they're always searching for the next best thing that they can be associated with. Or the gaslighting can begin and they can turn it around and make you feel like you're the narcissist and they're the victim of you.
Okay. So so I don't want to jump to conclusions here because a part of me wants to ask, is narcissism predatory? Is a narcissist, does narcissist be considered a predator? But before we get to that, who do narcissists target as far as relationships and friendships and so forth? Is there a particular personality type or characteristic that is attractive to a narcissist? And if so, please tell us what that looks like.
Yeah, so they tend to gravitate towards people that are a little bit more weak-minded is a strong word, and I don't mean it in a sense that the person is weak, but people that have trouble with decision making, people that have been the victims of abuse in the past are kind of on their radar. People that are naturally empathetic, so people that really are compassionate and caring, those are the types that they really go for. And people that are seen as being needy, and not needy in a clingy type of way, but needy in terms of like you're able to quickly see that this person seems like they're lonely. They seem like they have a little bit of low self-esteem. You can kind of see some types of people like that. Those are the natural targets.
So you're saying that there's a particular personality type that narcissists usually go after. And the reason why I ask that is because when we see people who are victims of these personality types, a lot of times it's like the victim gets persecuted, the victim gets blamed, right? So it's like they're so dumb, that could never be me, and we start to do this comparison thing. And so that's why I kind of wanted you to explain if there's a particular personality type. Now, could someone who is not necessarily all the things you listed, but they are ignorant or unaware of what narcissism is, can they become a victim of a narcissist just simply because they lack the knowledge of what narcissism is? Like, we can have the list of all the things you like. They don't have any of that stuff. They don't have past abuse or anything. And they just feel like they're the strongest person, but they're ignorant to what narcissism is. Can they fall victim to a narcissist?
Sure, because you have to think about manipulation is a powerful, powerful thing. So even if you are the most confident person in the world, we know, like, what a person, a lot of times when we talk to people for long periods of time, we start to get a sense of things that they are unsure of in life. We start to get a sense of some of their areas of weakness. A narcissist will praise on that weakness. So you have to think, when it comes to gaslighting and love bombing, there's not a lot of people that naturally know how to combat that type of stuff. So anybody can fall victim to one. Absolutely. Oh, you're on mute again. I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. I don't know why that keeps happening. It's muting on its own, I promise. So
Uh,
I was saying that I was reading out Aisha's thing. She says, do some people know that they are a narcissist? Or do they actually have to be told or diagnosed?
Most people are not going to know. I mean, because even though the term is thrown around there, nobody really knows that is a set of criteria. So most people are walking around that are narcissism. A lot of, I mean, because think about it, they literally think that this is just their personality. This is just who they are. So to them, there's nothing abnormal about it. To them, we're the abnormal ones. We're the ones that are, that are off because they're better than us.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, there are there's a lot of people that don't know that they are.
Okay. So I have another question. Tahida asks, why when you call out a narcissist, they turn it around on you?
Because they have so there's a misconception that narcissism is all about, is that the narcissist himself or herself is obsessed with themselves, that they love themselves so much. That's actually not the case. A narcissist has an excessive view of their self-image.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the image that is everything. It's the way that people perceive that person that they are idolizing and being very careful to craft in a certain way and manipulate in a certain way. So when you call a narcissist out, because their self-image is everything to them, they have to do everything that they can do to defend themselves, defend that image that was created. Because if they ever get exposed and knocked off of their high horse, it can be devastating. There was a dating guru months back that he made his name by telling women, by love bombing women and telling them everything that they wanted to hear, and said, coined the phrase "black men don't cheat," and made himself out to be the perfect guy, well built, says all the right things, charming. It came out, it was exposed that he had been cheating on his wife on a very regular basis with many different females. So it destroyed that image that he created of himself, and it destroyed his whole entire platform. He hasn't recovered from that since, and he is still he's still out there, but he doesn't have the position that he doesn't have the position that he once had. So
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So Gail says flying monkeys are also victims, in my opinion. Let me see what else we have here. He says peace. DC Butler says peace. Can he touch on flying monkeys? You want to touch on that?
I'm actually unfamiliar with the term.
So am I. I'm a little lost on that one. So you guys are gonna have to help us out. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and ask some other questions. Okay, so telltale signs. I know in the beginning, so there are people just coming in the room, right? So can we talk about some telltale? I know you just went through a lot. And by the way, you just taught me something. When people hear narcissism, including me, we think of someone who is like really conceited, really in love with themselves, right? And so when you just added the image piece, that's something that we don't even put into perspective, right? Like it's devastating. So they'll do anything in their power to maintain that image. And I want to get into can that actually lead to violence? But before we do, can we talk a little bit about the telltale signs? Help us out. Those of us who are out here dating, perhaps. What are some of the telltale signs that someone is probably has a narcissistic personality?
So when you go on a date with this person, the first thing I would say is to look for the love bombs. Look for this person to be telling you about how great you are, and things that seem like this kind of jumping the gun type of things. So, in reality, it wouldn't be a marriage proposal, but a lot of times guys know, and women know too, like the things that we kind of want to hear. I know that women like the idea of a loyal man, a family man. So saying things like, asking about how many children do you want? I can see myself being with you, forever. Those types of things. So that watching out for the love bombing, and that's a little bit more difficult because normally on a date you would expect the person to be giving you compliments because they like you. But another thing to pay attention to though is how this person explains their past relationships. So what was the reason that their past relationships failed? Because almost all the time they will say it was the other person's fault, like saying something like, I'll admit to my mistakes, my mistakes inside the relationship where, I think I let things go on too long. I enabled this person to an extent to do all these types of things. So it's not really taking accountability, but it's trying to make it sound like they're identifying an issue within themselves, but it's really not. It's always the other person's fault. Also, watch how they speak to the people around you, the people that they believe are beneath them. If you're at a restaurant, watch how they talk to a waiter. Are they really dismissive, or do they make very little eye contact? They tend to treat how they treat people that they view as not on their level is a great indicator of where they are. So that actually helps you to also see if you're being love bombed too, because if they are talking to that waiter like that, at some point in time, that waiter is going to become you. So, those are a couple of like the immediate things. Also, this is a very hard thing because I think anybody can really get fooled on this end, but a person that pays very, very close attention to the things that you say and actively acts on that thing. So let's say you let's say you are going, you were talking about your day and you're like, you know what, I had such a busy day at work. I messed around. I forgot to go to the grocery store and get some water. And you say it kind of just kind of haphazardly, like not even thinking about it. And you're continuing to talk and you get home and this person calls you and says, hey, look out on your porch. And you open the door and there's like a 24 pack of water. Like those very nuanced things that show that they are intently listening, because then you see something like that, you're like, oh my goodness, I didn't even think that I was, I just mentioned that and this person was paying so close attention to me, and it messes real relationships up so much because nobody is that attentive 24/7, but yeah, they use it masterfully.
That's scary, because some women, particularly women, will be like, some of the things that you're talking about, that's so romantic. Like they're so attentive. And so it's easy to sort of look past that. But they answered our question, by the way. So DC Butler said flying monkeys is the smearing of the actual victim's image or recruiting others in the smearing. And Gail also said something similar. She says, it's my understanding that flying monkeys are the people who take the side of narcissists, actively participating in the smear campaign. So it's almost like shame the victim, the people who, of the person's narcissism, At least that's what I'm gathering from those two responses. What do you say? Like, what type of people, I'm going to use the word enables a narcissist in their behavior? Is this a situation where narcissists of the same feather flock together? Or is it just people ignorantly enabling the narcissist?
No, it's not like a bunch of narcissists are banding together. None. So based off what they're saying about flying monkeys, honestly, that is when I talked about one of the criteria points in being like seeing themselves as unique and set apart, and how they can use that to create these subgroups of people. They have these fans that they come up with a creative name for their fans. We are FBA first, and everybody else is so and so. When they do that, when you make a group of people feel special like that, they oftentimes take the side of the narcissist, because the narcissist can do no wrong. So doesn't matter what reality is, they're going to always take the side of the narcissist and smear the other person. And even inside a relationship, your own family can take part of it, because a lot of times what happens is a narcissist will start to gaslight you.
Yeah.
And you'll start to believe that, you'll start to think like, am I crazy, or is this what I'm really experiencing? And a narcissist will call your family member when you are at your weakest points, and they will love bomb them and say, hey, I'm calling you because you're the only person that I know is ever able to get through to this person, and I just don't know what's going on. She's going off. She's all over the place, and I'm really worried about her. And can you talk to her, because I've literally been trying everything I can do, and I love her, and I want her to be okay, but I need your help. And will continue to do those types of things to where your family member is looking at it like, hey, what's wrong with you? Like, you got a good person over here, you're messing this up. And so they're able to kind of manipulate even your own family like that.
Wow, Nelson, this is a lot. This is a lot to take in, especially for those who are kind of out here dating. You're listing a lot of qualities that, or even just things that people actually do. And some people might just say they're manipulative, right? So it's like, the family see all the good things that they do for you. And so it's like, why would you even want to leave that person? Why would you? So they start to take the side of the narcissist and blame the victim of the narcissism without even like recognizing it. How does a narcissist react when they feel like they're being, I don't know, I'm gonna say rejected. So someone decides, you're manipulative, I'm done with you, I'm moving on. From your observation or your experience, or things that from your knowledge, how do narcissists respond to that type of rejection?
Through gaslighting and love bombing.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it really is kind of like that, because remember, with it being about the self-image, they have to first work to see, okay, what can I salvage of this? Can I love bomb this person into, forgiving me and coming back to me? And if all else fails and it doesn't work, I just have to gaslight this person and make them leave this person gaslighted and make it seem like this person was the issue, and move on to my next target.
Okay, so tell me, Nelson, what type of damage can be done or injury caused from being in a relationship with a narcissist? Outside of thinking you're going crazy, what are some like harm that's done to people who were victims of narcissists?
So that part is really interesting, because you think about relationships that like domestic violence relationships and things like that, where physical abuse and verbal abuse has been present. Victims of abuse, they need counseling to help them improve their, get their self-esteem up, know that it wasn't their fault, and be able to kind of get back in the world and be productive again and kind of overcome that. Narcissistic abuse is another level because it can include the physical aspects. It can include the verbal, emotional abuse, but then also take into account that it distorts your worldview. It distorts your perception of what love is. Because remember, you've experienced the height of what you believe love is. You've been love bombed to death, and you feel like you were made to feel like you were a king or a queen, and nobody's ever been able to make you feel that good. So now when you are the victim of being with a person like that, and you've been gaslit so much, when you get out of that relationship, you can be in really bad shape, because now moving forward, you're going to be hypersensitive to anybody that comes into your life. You're going to have your eyes wide open, like, all right, this person's being a little bit too nice. I don't like this. They can start sabotaging new relationships. They can they cannot even know what love looks like anymore. Period. They'll always think that they're crazy, and that they become really, really indecisive. They can't make decisions and stay on them. They don't trust anyone anymore. Like it just is so expansive. Like the damage, it does damage to the whole person, mind, body, and soul. So it's really horrible.
So actually, I jumped ahead, but I think you answered the question, but maybe I'm wrong. I feel like I heard you answer it already. But would you consider a narcissist an abusive individual?
Yeah, I would consider an abusive person, even if it's not physical. I know that they're manipulating someone. I know that they're using others to their advantage. And I don't know the extent that it would go into an individual relationship, but I would always know that there's elements there that this person is tearing down the other person's self-esteem.
Okay. So someone who is trying to get out of a relationship at this point, and they realize that maybe, I've joined myself to a narcissist, right? But they're having a difficult time because, like you said, if you were gaslit to death and love bombed to death, your boundaries have been violated so much that they're almost non-existent at this point. You've probably normalized certain behaviors, right? So now maybe, I don't know, they're waking up. Maybe they smell the coffee and they're like, yo, something isn't right. And even though they don't know it's the big N word, narcissist, right? They know something is off and something is unhealthy about the situation. So now they're trying to figure out how to get out. But every time they take a step out, the person goes into, I'm going to send you a ton of roses. I'm just going to shower you with gifts. How does someone thinking about leaving a situation that may be with a narcissist, how should they approach that? What should that exit look like?
Like, my recommendation would always be to leave cold turkey. Like,
really?
Get out. Because you got to think about it. Like, you already know what is going to happen. They're going to apologize, tell you how much they love you. They'll never do it again. You're the most special person on the planet. They're going to do that. Once you start actually seeing the cycle never ends. So at a certain point, I think a lot of people, the people that are actually able to get out of those relationships, they become aware. They may not know that this person's a narcissist, but they're aware of the cycle. And once they're aware of the cycle, they lose hope that it will ever change.
Got you.
So they get out. and in certain situations it's more difficult because what if there's kids involved, and so that makes it a lot more complicated because you're always going to be tethered to that person, and this person, even though you're not together anymore, can still try to manipulate you, can still try to exert power over you and control everything that you do through this child, using the child as a pawn. And if this person was working with a therapist to kind of help him or her get out and stay out, it would be really important for the therapist to work on boundaries. So developing a strong sense and a very disciplined approach to setting boundaries of what time you can call what time you can call me, if you can call me at all, the things that you could talk about. Don't buy me anything. Don't talk to anybody on my behalf or anything like that. Like putting strict things in place to make sure that this person can't have any kind of influence on your life.
Wow. Okay. I'm going to run through some comments real quick. Gail at Night says, in her experience, the damage was inside out, just like stress. It ages you and was no longer myself until she did the work, which is what you just talked about, getting the help that they need. When I started researching what was going on with me is the moment I knew something was wrong and I needed to get out. Yeah. DC Butler said you have to cut ties to heal. I just didn't think that you would say run cold turkey, because I'm thinking of the situation like a domestic violence situation. And in my head, it's like, you kind of have to plan it out, because I feel like if you fail, you might be in danger. Like, that's how I'm thinking. So when you said go cold turkey, I was like, okay, I get it though. I totally understand what you're saying, because I think the point that you were making was you already know what the cycle looks like. You know that when you say you're going to leave, what they're going to come with, you can almost predict their behavior at that point. So it's if after a number of cycles of that, it's like, this is not going to change. So I just need to remove myself. Gail said, get out and go no contact. I even had to cut off his family and anyone we were mutually associated with. That is definitely cold turkey. And then DC Butler says you have to notice the patterns. Okay, so what okay, so you talked about someone seeking the help, and I feel like this person being damaged have damaged another person, and now this person needs to go get help because and then this person just moves on to the next victim. My question to you is this though. Since you said it's who they are, and it's probably not healthy to be in a relationship with a narcissist, so a narcissist can get no love? Like, they can't be in any relationships? Like, is it possible for them to have healthy relationships at all?
If they get counseling, yeah.
If they get counseling.
Yeah, but and also sometimes people that are in a relationship with a narcissist get broken to the point where they say, okay, this is my life, this is what it is, and go through the motions every day, and that's just what it is. So there are certain personality types that can end up lending itself to, okay, I'm just going to always, we figure out ways of adapting. We're very good at adapting to any situation. So, okay, so I know I'm with this person. I know that I just need to, I'm always going to be the one that's wrong. They're always going to be the one that's right. I got to, I'm just going to chalk that up to whatever. I'm going to make sure that I tell them how great they are. I'm going to, things like that. So people exist. Those types of relationships do exist. Mm-hmm. Like, think of, I can't say that everybody is able to get out, because even when I was talking about the relationship with the relationship guru guy, he's still married.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And it's so heartbreaking to see the wife, because the wife looks like she needs to live in a fantasy world. She become ultra dedicated to the Bible, to where it's like that is all she identifies herself with, like just doing things that like normal sane people don't really do. It's like she's been psychologically broken. And even if you read some of the like the accountings that she put out about what happened inside the relationship, it is so disturbing to the point where it's like, how in the world is she still with this person? But she's broken.
Yeah, and it sounds like a form of escapism as well. So I want to bring it to, because you mentioned earlier in the conversation about like social media personalities, and a lot of what you were describing, I just, my cult antennas were like going up. It sounds like very cultish behavior, and there's the cult leader who is the narcissist, right? So I want to bring it to this space because I feel like no matter what people think, because a lot of people really try to be very dismissive and minimize the interactions that we have on these screens, and say, oh, it's just social media, it's just this. And I'm like, no, if you can build a relationship through video chat, through conversing on the cell phone, you can build those emotional ties. I feel it's no different in this space, and I feel like it's no different on social media. You're interacting, the person is responding to your comments. You guys are building a relationship because it's an exchange of energy at the end of the day. So when I hear people say that, I feel like, you guys are like really minimizing this in a way that is dangerous, right? So I want to bring it into the social media space because whether we like to hear it or not, we are in these spaces building relationships through these screens, okay? Emotional ties and everything, soul ties and everything else. So I want to bring it into this space. Now, you describe the victim. You kind of give me like a profile of the victim of not as someone who is narcissistic. Does that also apply in social media spaces? Like the people who get hooked in with these personalities, are these also people who may be victims of abuse? Maybe does it apply in this space as well? The type of people that are locked into these personalities?
Oh yeah. If you look at the fans of these strong followings, a lot of them will report you know being depressed or feeling set apart, feeling other than, feeling like the black sheep, experiencing a trauma and abuse before, and they gravitate to them because they feel that love, they feel that's such a strong connection. And so it's so easy to draw them in. Think about why narcissists are amazing dating coaches, even though they don't help anybody, because all their advice is based on unrealistic expectations in relationships. But why are they able to quickly get such strong followings? It's because they have a distorted view. They live in a fantasy world about their own self-image. So normal people like us that try to get into social media, make content, we struggle a lot because we become very self-critical. We're always worried about if we're saying the right things. We're worried about how our following is receiving our messages, that we're putting it out the right way, that we're actually we want to be sure that we're actually helping people. We end up reading the comments and getting really discouraged if you see a lot of negative comments. It hits our hearts sometimes. That's not the case with a narcissist. A narcissist can look at the comment and it be a negative comment, and that don't mean nothing. That person don't know anything. Let me just attack that person.
Wow.
Like their self-image is everything. So it's like the same things that that affect us, that kind of pull at our heart, is non-existent for them. So they're able to just keep on pushing and keep showing this what looks like confidence, but it's really just it's really a lack of, you know, qualities, personality qualities that I kind of talked about, like, you know, being compassionate or being empathetic, things like that.
You know, when I was asking that question, and as you're responding to it, for me, what just came to my mind is like, you take yourself everywhere you go, right? You were just on vacation. You took Nelson with you where you went, right? When people come into this space, they bring who they are. So I guess in my mind, I'm like, if you can be the victim of a narcissist in this space, the likelihood of you being a victim in the real world, how high is that, Nelson? I feel like it's the same. I feel like if you, go ahead.
I mean, like you also have to take into account like the variables, like how much you know, how much a person is following this person. So maybe they're only following because of a certain topic, but when you look at the consistent followers that comment on every post, that always feels like they're right in every single topic, then you know the people that are largely susceptible to, you know, things happen in real life. Because I think all of us can kind of gravitate to someone for a first time because they say we love a initial video that they do, and you know, we quickly subscribe and, like, you know, want to hear more of their content, and then we end up getting used to them, and then we're like, okay, well, I'm starting to hear the same thing over and over again, so that's enough of that. But no, not when you are dealing with a narcissist. Like, not when you're the personality type that gravitates to the narcissist. It's always you now become kind of entrapped. Like, you're now the loyal follower. Like, you got to be there because you're gonna feel bad, like you are letting the narcissist down if you're not.
Wow. Sean says it could even be worse. I'm assuming he's talking to like in real life, how they could be in real life versus on social media. He said, but maybe the internet allowed them to let their guards down because of the distance. And I could see how that could be, because like I said, there's a lot of minimization of these exchange of energies that we have on these platforms, where it's like, it's not that deep, it's not that big of a deal. And I'm like, no, like, there's an energy exchange that's happening here. Like you said, it's a difference with checking in and like, I like this content, or I like this topic, I'm interested, let me stay tuned, versus I like this person, I like this person's charisma, like they could do no wrong, you know. They will never tell a lie simply because of how they present themselves. So you're locked into the personality of the person versus the content that they are producing. At least that's what I hear from you when you were just explaining. Okay,
Yeah,
go ahead. Okay. Lisi says, in my opinion, narcissism is kind of bred into society. What do you think about that comment? Are you talking, he might be talking about like the push of like individualism that a lot of us, you know, sort of engage in daily. What do you think about that comment?
Oh, I am 100%. I love that comment, because when you look at how our society is constructed, the things that are, what are the core values of our culture? Money, power, respect. And because of that, so what it in actuality should be is more things like integrity, loyalty, wisdom, kindness, patience, the things that people consider corny. But because it's money, power, respect, because it's chasing the bag, because it's pulling the you know, the baddest woman, or being the baddest bee, and being the biggest thug dude, like, because everything is our self-image, we place such a high emphasis on self-image, we place such a high emphasis on getting money and respect, that we start to give into we lose our morals of how we go about getting those things. So we're more likely to seek money in illegal ways, where we when it comes to respect, because we don't know what respect, how respect is tied into integrity, we seek to get respect in different ways. So if it's men, and it could be men in a relationship with women, I feel like she just disrespected me, so I'm going to hit her. I got to get her in line. She needs to know how tough and how much of a man I am. So we distort these ideologies, and it's only reinforced through the media. You look at our rappers, all it is, they're women around them and money and flashy cars and clothes. Everything that we're taught to value in life is tied to those three things. And as a result, we are on a consistent basis losing our sense of morality.
You know, I feel like, and I know this is going to be, this is probably going to sound horrible to say, Nelson, but when you were describing a narcissist, right, I was like, sound to me like they mastered the law of attraction. I'm sorry. When I say that, I mean that most, like a lot of, I've read somewhere that a lot of the leaders or people that we know who are like had big influence in this world were technically, they were actually narcissistic people, right? And I'm just like, someone like having, and like you said, I know it's this grandiose sense of self, so it's a little extreme. But in my head, I'm just like, I feel like they don't master the law of attraction, because maybe they're successful because they believe that much in themselves. And please let me know, are they successful because they believe in themselves, or are they successful because they've mastered manipulating people to advance their own agenda?
Well, I mean, it can be both. I mean, they're master manipulators, but they also have a strong, even if they do have a deep-seated insecurity, which is not always the case, they can have a strong sense of the self-image that they created. They could have the fantasy that this is actual reality. So you are right in terms of like a lot of the so the crazy thing is about our society is narcissists actually tend to be the more successful people in life. It just naturally comes out that way.
It's rewarded. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's rewarded.
Yeah. So a lot of our politicians, our entertainers, anything that is important in our society, we have narcissists that have their hands inside of it, and we just fall into it hook, line, and sinker. It's very hard for a person, like in reality, our politicians need to be someone that is selfless, that they don't think about themselves. They are all in their mind. They are always thinking, what is going to help the person next to me? What's going to help my people? People do not, by and large, think on that level anymore. So now everything is so individualistic. Politicians are seeking money. They're seeking more prestige. They're seeking, greater ties to greater networking opportunities. And so all of us, the regular population, we're left to suffer because no one ever truly is looking out for us.
Okay, so what I did was it's that time of the hour to allow people to come and speak with you directly if they want to. I have 2 people backstage so far, and I am going to let each one of them up. It's only 2, so I'll let them up at the same time. But I'll start with Curtis, and then I see Daryl. I see you as well, so I'm gonna also let Daryl ask his question as well. So let me welcome these 2 men. Hello, Curtis.
Good evening, Hanifa. How are you doing?
I am well. And hi, Daryl. How are you?
How you doing, Lady Hanifa?
I am well. I am well. So I'm gonna go ahead and let Curtis ask his question first, and then Daryl, you can ask yours after. Go ahead, Curtis.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I was thinking about what we were talking about content creators and the issue of narcissism, because to me it seems like a form of idolatry. Without being spiritually oriented, I mean physically oriented. It becomes an idolization of the person. And I've seen that a lot on the in the relationship sphere, with the manosphere and the women's sphere. It tends to be about the content creator and not about the actual content. And then what you end up seeing is you see a lot of following, a lot of parroting, a lot of mimicking, and that tends to drive the content creator forward. And I would feel that as a content creator, if that is the way that you do it, then you get pretty much locked in to a very small perspective, which doesn't give you room to live, learn, and grow or change. And therein lies the inherent hypocrisy when what you're doing is promoting change in the first place. And so that I think is a good example of the hypocrisy in narcissism, in that a pretty picture is painted for you. It's to make it simpler than the long that I just gave, diatribe that I just gave. It's Nick's the what's it called? But yes, it's you give, but it's with an expectation in return. It's a very selfish relationship.
Yeah, I love what you said about how you kind of spiritually link that to idolatry, because when you think about it, you look at it like in the Bible, the people were worshiping images of certain things, and the narcissist essentially worships the image of themselves.
Yes.
Even if it's a fantasy image, it's the image that they created of themselves. They're married to that, and it's their everything. So I love that correlation. Sure, definitely.
Okay, Curtis, is that all you wanted to say? Do you want to? You can remain, because there's other things that may come up.
Please, there always is, especially with this topic. This topic has been so, and I mean this literally. This topic has been so bastardized that I noticed that with Hanifa's conversations with Hanifa, something about the semantic use of diagnostic terminology always comes up, because it always throws a monkey wrench into the greater understanding that we have as a society. What did we start with? Now we're on a narcissist kick. Everybody's a narcissist. Prior to this, what did we originally start with? Everybody was a sociopath. And unfortunately, these things are in the media, and then they're out of the media just as quickly. But they seem to stay with people, especially people who are injured. Mm-hmm.
Honestly, but so for clinicians, narcissism has been around, since forever. But the problem is, you look at our society now, we're getting more and more well-versed in mental health.
Yeah.
Not just mental health terminology. So now people are starting, the things that I'm diagnosing people with, people are now like hearing these terms and now just going home, hey, guess what? I'm bipolar. Like,
yes.
You know what I mean? So you're right, bastardizing it. Like, you don't want bipolar disorder. You do not want it. Yeah. But people think just because, oh yeah, I was happy for 1 minute and 10 minutes later I was mad, so I'm bipolar. No.
I had no idea, and I'm coming to you right now, Daryl. I had no idea what bipolar was until I met someone who actually had it. And I met her at church. This is when I was in the church. And I met her at church, and she just told me she had it and that she was on medication. And I was like, oh, I still wasn't clear. So when she would have these episodes, and I asked the clinician friend of mine, and then I was able to really understand her personality a little better, because when she was like on her high, she would make some crazy decisions, and then when she's on her low, I mean, you won't see her for days. So that's where I started to understand what bipolar is. And from what she explained, like, it's to the point where it's like you don't even want to get out of bed sometimes, right? You don't even want to go out and get some sunshine. It's not a good feeling. So like you just said, Nelson, people diagnosing themselves because they read a book or they heard a lecture on it. It's like you don't even know what you're really asking. What are you talking about? Because do you really want to be diagnosed with that? So I'm glad that you brought that up. I want to let Daryl go ahead and have his question in. Daryl, you are on board, sir.
All right. How you doing, Nelson? How you doing today?
How you doing, sir?
I'm doing blessed. We spoke a few months ago, and you really helped me a few months ago. I want to thank you for that. And Hanif, I have two questions for Nelson, but before I do that,
Mhm.
I want to take 5 seconds out to apologize to Lady Maya in the chat, and just to say I apologize for anything I've ever done to ever hurt Maya while I have a chance to. Um,
Okay.
with that going forward, Nelson, I have I have used the power of my own tongue for good and bad. I have used it to build and destroy, right? And truth be told, recently I've learned a lot of lessons and I was in my own way humbled, right? And I could have kept the sword going, right? But I chose to, if I keep going, right, Kurt, I'm going to start hurting people around me. I can't have that. I can't hurt people I love, right? So two things that I wanted from you is how does a person recognize that they are a narcissist? And um if you are suffering from secondary trauma from being around another narcissist, how do you heal from that? How do you recognize narcissism in yourself? And how do you heal from being scarred or having a relationship with a narcissist?
Well, being a narcissist yourself is not something that you really recognize because to you it's just your personality. So it's if you are concerned that you might be a narcissist, you're more than likely not. So honestly, you should really read the actual criteria for a narcissist. So read about the grandiosity, read about what a lack of empathy is, um, the need to be unique, the need to be praised, and think about yourself on a constant basis. Do you have a pattern that that at any given time you have at least 5 of these traits all the time, ongoing? You know what I mean? It's really hard for a narcissist to identify themselves. It generally doesn't happen because self-image is everything. So to them, their self-image is great. There's nothing wrong with them. Mental health, no, they don't have anything going on. So, I would think about it in that terms. And if you are somebody that is the victim of narcissistic abuse, one thing is to definitely start doing things that raise your self-esteem. So whether it's in the gym, working out, whether it's learning how to do things on your own and derive enjoyment from it. So getting back to the things that you used to do, that you used to love doing, getting back into those types of things that make you feel whole as a person without needing someone else to come in and complete you or someone else to make you feel like what you're doing is good. So learning how to do things on your own, and then learning what boundaries need to look like, because a lot of times you can be a guy and you could have been with a narcissistic woman, and you leave that relationship so damaged that you jump into the next relationship, and maybe the next woman is not a narcissist, but your mind is so messed up and warped that you begin to overcompensate, and you begin to you have an excessive need of wanting to please this woman. So you're trying your best. You're doing everything for her. You're now trying to pay all the bills. You're now like you're waking up and taking her to work and picking her up from work and giving her all the money out of your account. Like you're defining all these things as this is what it means to be a good man, and you don't realize that there's no accountability on her part. Take a step back and think, well, what is she adding to your life? Is she is she helping you in the things that you are trying to do, or are you just feeling good because you feel like you're doing a lot of things for her and that she's somebody that needs you and you love that feeling of being needed by somebody, so you're just a little bit overly kind of stuck on that type of thing. So being able to kind of really evaluate your current relationships and what works well in them and what, you know, what's not working well. Why do you like the person that you like? What is it about her that really stands out to you? You know what I mean? What does she do to you? How does she make you feel? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what is your motivations for the things that you are doing? You know, those are kind of key things.
Thank you. Thank you. I definitely appreciate it. I'm gonna make sure I play this back so I can really grasp everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was something that I did wonder about myself. Am I a narcissist? You know, do I have these overbearing tendencies, and am I capable of changing or growing? You know, whichever word or terminology that we want to use today. And that's the only reason why I joined today, because I haven't had a chance to speak to you since a few months ago when I was dealing with the domestic abuse of my daughter. And since the last time we spoke, um I've had a lot of things happen. I've had CPS called on me, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And God was able to keep me in a position where my daughter is still with me, and even those different things brought me more trauma and more trauma. So I had to realize how can I deal with it. But the reason why I asked myself, am I a narcissist? Because I said, how much of this is my fault, right? How much of this that I bring upon myself with my word and my action, right? And I can't, you know, am I placing too much value on myself in these situations? If I pull it out of these situations, would I still be valued outside of these business relationships, or, like you said, romantic relationships? Those are things I ask myself. That's all.
So when you actually take a step back and think about like what what your role in certain things are, what do you tend to come up with?
Nowadays I hold myself to the fire, right? Because truth be told, had I not done a lot of things that I was doing, I sat down, I was reading Harry Potter books or whatever, I wouldn't be in a lot of different mess. My name wouldn't be put in a lot of different narratives or drama. And because of, you know, my lack of, not reading those books and actually going out and making those choices, I have to deal with those choices now, right? So what I realize now is I I look back and I say, I don't want to go through the same thing again. I don't want to put myself through the same needless suffering again, right? So now I'm more humble, right? Is I try to find ways to handle issues through healthy communication instead of me picking up the sword and saying, you know what, I'm in pain, so you're about to be in pain too. I used to have a rule that if I took a loss, you gotta take a loss too, right? And even that wasn't healthy. I realize now, you know, every time, somebody used to say, well, you can smack Daryl and he's gonna shoot you. Yeah, that's not healthy. It wasn't healthy for people to even think that about me. So if I was exhibiting behaviors that made people think that about me, then I had to reframe my entire way of thinking. And more importantly, my entire way of how I can deal with situations and remain impeccable with my word, as the four agreements would say.
Quick question for you: when you get into new relationships, like let's say maybe you recently started a new relationship, do you have a
Right.
tendency to overshare or tell a lot about yourself quickly?
You know what? Let's say hypothetically I did get into one. Um yeah, absolutely. I definitely am a oversharer, and I'm very transparent, my ups and my downs. I used to come on the internet and show police reports about what I was going through, and and the complaint reports and the officer names and badge numbers, because I thought at the time, well, if I'm transparent with my people and transparent with the people who actually care about listening to me, then they would be transparent back. Like the love will always be reciprocated. The reciprocity would be real. And I was wrong. I felt like, when Malcolm came back to the nation and told them what the honorable Elijah Muhammad had been up to, nobody cared, right? He thought people would, but nobody cared. So I think that was just that was a lesson. But to answer your question directly and not rant, yes, I do have a tendency that if I like somebody or if I trust somebody, it doesn't have to be romantic. If me and Kurt become real cool, I would share things because I believe, like this is somebody who I would trust. And where I come from, once the trust is established, we shouldn't have to reestablish it, right? I go down, you go down, you go down, I go down. The trust should never be betrayed for nothing. If I trusted Kurt, nobody could come to me and say, "Here's $1 million. Tell me Kurt's secrets." No, I'd rather get it in, from the mud than betray my people, ever. So that's even that mentality. Everybody don't share, right? So yeah, I have to realize, yes, oversharing is not caring all the time.
Yeah, so I would definitely be careful with that because it sounds like a little bit like you use oversharing and you framed it as being very transparent about yourself. But there's an aspect of, if I tell this person about me and I show this person the real me, will they love me? And it was like, it sounded like those two things were kind of linked. Like if a person would only see my heart, see who I really am, would they love me or will they love me? And to me, that just sounded like a little bit what was kind of going on, why you might tend to overshare, because you just want to be forthcoming with this person. You want them to feel, very comfortable with you and, be seen as that very honest and transparent person. But then the issue ends up becoming, though, when you share a lot, when you share too much with somebody, what happens when you haven't been a very good judge of this person's character that you've been sharing with, and they use the information against you? How do you tend to react when someone breaks that immense amount of trust that you just gave to them?
I'll tell you what. When I first met you on Uncle Stu's show, our conversation a few months ago, that person would have picked up the sword and went to work, and I would have cut as many trees down. And but again, because I am a father of 4, 2 boys and 2 girls. My youngest daughter, who I have complete custody of, I have to, not want to all the time, right? I have to, and I need to be a better representation of how to handle things, how to be slow to anger. So for me now, where I sit now and talking to you guys, I take a lot of stuff to God now, like real talk. I take a lot of information to God, keep it within my family. I have, my sisters, they are twins. I talk to them every single day. My father and my mother, I talk to them every single day. And I confide in people who I know will go, to the ground with me if they want to, right? People who will absolutely never betray me. And, in some ways I have a sort of PTSD about oversharing now, where it's like I can't trust nobody now. I gotta, you know what I mean? But even that, I'm learning I don't want to create unhealthy chambers within myself where I'm saying this pain I'm going to carry into the next, the next interaction with somebody and hold them accountable for something that they never did, right? So for me, and I hope I'm answering your question, I'm handling now by just really just taking the bullets and the arrows as they come and just healing myself on my own and not responding and not causing more devastation, because I haven't found the way to handle that in a positive way just yet. And the only way I can make a positive situation out of that is by not reacting at all.
So yeah, so definitely, in a place that maybe think about exploring is developing the criteria for trust. You know what I mean? What do you need to see in another person in order for you to say this is somebody that is trustworthy? What are the things that you're using to evaluate the person, and what does that look like? So not anything for you to answer now, but something to just think about. And then once you've determined that this person is worthy of trust, how much what is the appropriate things to share, and like what are the situations that is okay to do so. So things for you to just kind of like reflect on.
I definitely appreciate it. I was taking notes. Thank you.
I think Curtis has. Curtis, are you on mute?
No, I'm not
Oh,
on
go
mute.
ahead. I'm assuming you have something to say to Daryl, right? Go ahead.
Yes, brother Darrell, do you go to therapy?
Yes, I do.
Okay, great. So I do as well, because everything that you're saying makes perfect sense. I mean, that's at the risk of interjecting some humor here. The truth is everything that you say makes perfect sense. But you know what I was amazed with Hanifa and Nelson was he led off with, I care about how other people, I care about not hurting other people. That was like pretty much, I think, the second or third sentence that he said. And I had to sit back and grip on the urge to say, well, there you go. Nope, you're not a narcissist. Let's move on. But yes, Daryl,
Thank you.
I'm brother Daryl. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that you're going to therapy too. I would recommend that everybody in the world go to therapy. I honestly think the world would be a much better place if all of us took the time it takes in therapy to remind themselves that therapy is about introspection, and that you're not just worried about the outside world, and the fact that we're always relating to people in the outside world. I think people get lost in the fact that these are relationships, including our relationship with ourselves. And as Nelson said earlier, when we're talking about idolatry, our relationship to God, or our relationship to ourselves, and how we look at things that way, and to see what's normal versus what is pathological, such as narcissism. Thank you.
No, I definitely appreciate your words, my brother. Thank you. And one thing that I've been doing is on Thursdays I do mental health days. So I focus on just different things that helps me heal. That's why, like, today I did the 4 agreements, in my review of the 4 agreements. Now I'm focused on another book, something that's going to help me, not only with my mind, but just budgeting, um, building, my credit up, just different things that's going to put me in a different financial piece, right? Financial freedom. And it's a Dave Ramsey book. So I'm reading that right now, but just reading and getting back into, really, I feel like how Thanos felt after he snapped his finger and then he went to the farm afterwards, right? But not Thanos, right? Like that. But that's how I feel. Like I feel like I'm on my farm now. Like the sword is like I don't want to do it no more. I just want to just focus on the things that make me genuinely happy now. Otherwise, I'm only gonna cause myself more suffering and pain.
Yeah, I'm really glad to hear that, man. It's good talking to you again, and I'm really glad that you're like, on this journey for yourself, and you're reading and you're doing the actual work on yourself. Like it takes a lot for men to admit that, like, we go to therapy, and so that even you saying that, I just appreciate you doing that.
Oh, thank you, thank you. It's like, yeah, I feel like I I had a very bad tendency to love to go into the gladiators ring and take enough knives, but eventually, you take enough, and you don't want to take no more. You just like forget that somebody else could be a champion now. I'm good on that.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
so Nelson, I think this was to something Daryl said. Dante was in listening and he was asking, what does the road look like? So I asked him what road, and he said the road to knowing who to trust and who to share with. Like what does that journey looks like in working towards reestablishing healthy boundaries again with people?
The journey for trust is different with everybody, but I would say for me, when I'm looking at the people that are around me, and who do I feel like I can trust, I'm always going to I find myself thinking about first, what is this person's character? You know, am I always complaining that this person, is always gossiping about something, is always talking to other people, and maybe I find myself getting caught up in that. Maybe I love talking to this person because they're always telling me about what else is going on with someone else, but not taking a step back to realize, yeah, if they're doing this to me, they're probably talking about me to somebody else. But like looking for the qualities, looking for the goodness in people. Are these people, are the people that I'm saying that I trust, do they show empathy? Do they show the ability to put themselves in my shoes, and they try to understand where I'm coming from? They actually listen a lot. Are my secrets safe with this person? Can I tell them something, and even if I'm even if I get really upset and we get into a huge argument, they don't use my words against me. You know what I mean? Like being able to kind of start distinguishing those the less sexy characteristics, the integrity, the wisdom, the knowledge, things that that you got to get to know a real, the inner workings of a person in order to kind of like, realize who they are. Like I really think taking that type of evaluation first, taking the self-evaluation of where you weak at, what do you have a tendency to do, like we just talked about with oversharing.
Mhm.
Maybe you have a tendency to undershare. Maybe you have a tendency to want to know everything about another person because if that makes you feel safe, because now I don't have to worry about them going out and do anything against me because I got all this dirt on them. And
Yeah.
you focus on undersharing to where you don't want to. You make sure you're really guarded in everything that you do and everything that you say. So now you're in a position of all the power. So realizing what the motivations of your heart, are in those types of things. And, if you are somebody that does undershare like that, why do you do it? What makes you do it? What does it feel like when you actually share what you feel like is too much with someone? Do you
Mm.
find yourself cutting them off? Do you run away? Like do you kind of disappear because you feel like you exposed yourself too much? Like, so the literally evaluating yourself every day and the motivations of your heart will help you to also determine a lot about other people, because it's it's hard to see the ugliness inside of yourself. So once you get to a place where you really start to see the things that you don't like about yourself, it gets a little bit easier to see other people in that light, and some of the things that other people might be struggling with, and whether you should trust them or not.
It's very I'm so glad that you said, because there was two things that I drew out of the dialogue between Daryl and yourself. One of them was self work, and so I know that I'm big on self work, right? Because I really believe that everything begins there. And I know you just mentioned that reflection at the beginning, at the end of the day as well. And I think that's sort of why journaling helps people as well, because you can go back, you can look at the things, and you can also see your own growth. Um, but in the self work, I guess outside of the narcissist, because you said something to Dara when he asked, he was questioning if he's a narcissist, and you said, well, even the fact that you're thinking about whether or not you're a narcissist, you probably aren't one, right? You pointed that out in the beginning, but I guess I'm asking, what I want to ask about self work is this: the people who may have been, because Dara mentioned maybe being exposed to, maybe even in his own life, he didn't go into details, but like maybe someone who was a narcissist, right? It could be a parent, it could be a caregiver. You don't necessarily have to be a mother or father, grandmother, aunt. um those of us who have been victims of narcissists, what does the self work look like so that we are not victimized again? what type of self-work do we need to do on ourselves so that we no longer become, or we could safeguard ourselves from being victimized in that capacity again?
So the self-esteem work is one crucial thing. So learning about what you are good at. I think a good place to kind of begin is taking a strengths assessment survey. There's a survey called the Clifton Strengths survey. You pay for it, but you fill it out online, and it tells you what are your 5 strongest characteristics of your personality, and it breaks it down and describes it for you. Like, that's a good way to kind of take a quick peek into yourself and like get an outside view of, oh, okay, this is saying this is the type of person I am, and start building off of that. It is very much the doing the things that you love to do, working on actual skills type things that you build proficiency in, things that you can learn to be proud of. And in addition to the self-esteem work, the boundary work is incredibly crucial, because boundaries is not just what I'm going to accept, what I'm not going to accept. Boundaries is also like, why do I feel like it's okay to let people walk over me? Why do I feel like it's okay to if somebody starts an argument with me, I don't want to have a confrontation, so I just say, okay, whatever, and walk away and just do whatever it is that they say. Why is it that I don't stand up and say, no, this isn't what I want to do? I don't want to do it right now. Maybe I'll just at a different time, but it's okay for me to say no. So learning the boundaries, learning what you want for yourself as a person, and what you want to allow into your life and what you don't want to allow, and the things that you don't want to allow, that you're able to build up this enough esteem to be able to say, to communicate to somebody, no, that isn't what I want. And that's something a lot of people struggle with. A lot of people have trouble telling people no, because there's something about the concept of not wanting to disappoint people, because we believe people have this image of us. So being able to let go of that image that we think people have of us, and seeing and learning how to see ourselves in a very sober way, and even sometimes just evaluating, looking at other people as being, I value other people more than myself, like not in a toxic way or anything like that, but like, no, I'm able to appreciate these characteristics of these other people, and I want to grow to be just like that. So being able to not take yourself too seriously, but have a healthy outlook on yourself and others. These things are kind of, they're important for rebuilding after you've been with somebody that has taken every ounce of goodness that's in you, that they've taken everything that you've held dear and dear in life, after they've manipulated you to the point where you don't trust any decision that you make, that you're always asking somebody else, does this seem like the right decision? Like, no. Being able to surely say in yourself, it may not be the right decision, I'm not 100% positive on it, but I'm going to go with it. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm going to grow from it and learn from it, and move on and not make the same mistake twice. Being comfortable with that failure.
Thank you for that response, Nelson. So I'm wrapping up shortly. And so I'm going to go ahead and allow Curtis and Daryl, if you guys have any last maybe questions that maybe came up while Nelson was speaking before you all leave, so he can address it. If not, you guys can let yourselves down, but you can say your goodbyes, whatever you choose to do. So I can start with Daryl. I'm going to start with Curtis, and then we'll come to you. Okay.
Okay. Firstly, I just want to thank you, Hanifa. It's always a pleasure. Nelson, thank you also for being a licensed practicing clinician, and for being willing to come here and to do this kind of work. Daryl, thank you for being a very honest, very open, very positive, self-reporting person, because that always tends to lead to a lot of problems. And I would just like to leave with this, because this is a very strong opinion on my part. The kind of content creation and content provision that I like is exactly this, with immediate support of people whom are knowledgeable and want to help, but not only that, have learned how to help and how to work together to achieve the creation of and the provision of a more healing environment such as this. This isn't a smoke site, and I don't believe in the efficacy of smoke sites at all. And so this is the kind of way, when we talk about making positive change, this, in my opinion, is as positive gets in these relationship and mental health spheres on social media. I think this is a most excellent example of the positive use and the strength that inherent in social media when it's used properly. But thank you very, very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Great meeting you
Thank
too.
you. Bye, Curtis.
Goodbye. Have a good evening.
All right, peace. Go ahead, Daryl.
I just want to say thank you, my brother, for even just hearing me out, and I am working on everything I can to make myself a better person, from the inside out, right? Um, you know, for the longest, I had no problem with going to war. In some ways enjoyed it, I guess, right? But I can't go to war with people that I love. Once it gets to that point, and I gotta, bite a certain bullet, I'll bite that bullet, because I just can't, I can't go back and forth with certain people. I can't go back and forth with certain narratives. You know what I mean? I had to get comfortable with who I am, how I feel, and how I want to go forward, even if these things is going to continue to, if these arrows are going to, just rain on me. I just got to learn how to deal with them in a positive way, and trust God more than anything else.
Daryl.
Yes, Lady Hanifa.
Okay. I think this is your second time on my platform. So
Hmm.
if I could speak respectfully
Yes.
and freely to you. First of all, I'm going to say thank you for apologizing on my platform to my aunt.
Of
Uh,
course. Yeah.
but the second thing I want to say to you, the only thing I would say is whatever you choose, whatever your better self looks like that you are going after, whatever that looks like, um, you have to, it's a consistent work that has to be done, right? You have to make day by day, moment by moment decisions towards whatever that vision is of yourself, right? And the last thing I want to say to you is this, because there's a lot that I have done, and I say this with all respect. There is a lot of damage that I have been done, and I know you acknowledge that. What I also need you to understand too is that sometimes too much damage have been done. And the reason why I say that is this: you have to know that even in your change, there are some people who will not accept it, right? And I just want to make sure that I'm clear: who will not accept it. Whatever your goal is, whatever you're going after, whatever your higher self look like, if that is your focus, right? It doesn't matter if someone doesn't accept your change, accept your apology. It has to boil down to Daryl is doing it for Daryl. So Daryl could be a better Daryl, and Daryl could be a better father. Daryl could be a better companion. Daryl could be a better friend, right? That it has to be solely about you and not what people are willing to accept, because I can tell you right now, and we've been in the same spaces for some months now. They are going, and I say this as someone who has experienced this in my life. Sometimes you can do so much damage or hurt someone in a capacity that they're done and they wash their hands with you. We have two decisions to make when that happens. We could either say, well, that's the consequence of what I did, and I'm going to keep growing, or we could say, we can make it get to us and revert back to what we're trying to get away from. I've been there. I don't know if Nelson's been there. I've been there. We have all hurt somebody. And the reality is, everyone is not going to accept your apology. Everyone is not going to be willing to forgive you. The key is, do you forgive yourself? Are you making the steps towards your best self for you? Or are you doing it so that people can accept you? Are you trying to prove something to someone else? And again, I say that with all due respect. Okay, you and I have never
No,
clashed,
of
but we have
course.
been in the same spaces. I have observed a lot, and this is me just speaking to you as a sister and saying to you that whatever work you're doing, it has to be about Daryl's growth and not other people's acceptance of Daryl's growth. I hope I'm clear on that.
No, yeah, and just to make this clear, and first of all, thank you for accepting me, because you didn't have to let me up here, right? There's plenty of people that would say, you know what, it's too much drama around your name, bye, right? So thank you, first of all. To the people that I hurt already, you got to live with that, right? You know what I'm saying? Where I come from, like once you do certain things, you got to live with it. You got to go to bed with it. You got to wake up with it. You're going to die with it. So some of that stuff, I already taken that approach to it. Like, like I sent bullets out, they hit people, and I got to live with it. Like metaphorical content bullets. Right?
Yeah, yes.
And at this point, yeah, no, the damage that was done in all of my previous friendships and relationships is done. There is no coming back for, there is no infinity stones or it's over, right?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? The only thing that I want to focus on is the growth for myself to prevent it from happening again. So that if I do fall in love again, if I do feel like I can trust again, I can do these different things without hurting somebody else. And I will actually be in a place where I need to be to actually, to actually court a woman and actually fall in love and have healthy friendships, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it all starts with me. Whether people accept me or not, I have to live with that too, right? But it cannot change the course that I'm on now. Or I can't say, well, dang, I'm doing all of this and they still don't accept me. It don't really matter now, right? My bed is made. I gotta lay down. I gotta get my pillow comfortable, and I gotta just get ready to sleep in it now.
Okay.
But I can make a comfortable bed for myself if I do accept myself, and I am working on my own. Let's say my mental issues, my ability to be slow to anger. Like Nelson said, my ability to overshare and vet who I trust. I understand that. Like that's super important now. And not just sharing everything like how I used to. I used to go on the internet and show every single thing I could, but now I just don't do that. And I'm more confided with my actions, and I think it's a good path for me. But I do appreciate you speaking genuinely. I actually like that kind of conversation. It just reminds me like two old gangsters coming together. You know what I mean?
Well, thank you for allowing me to speak freely to you. I always come in, with respect. And I just was speaking as someone who has observed, different things that have happened, and we don't even need to go into details. Whatever whatever your path is right now, I just know that when we are on those paths to better ourselves, sometimes whatever image we have created in people's minds of us, we might be willing to relinquish it and let go of it, but it don't necessarily mean that they're ready to. And that's okay. And that's all I'm saying to you. It's that it might take some time, but you have to focus on you being better for you and the people who are immediately around you. For example, your children, right? So that's all I wanted to say to that. If you have any parting words, say so that I don't want to hold Nelson much longer. So say your parting words, and then I'll go ahead and wrap up with Nelson. And thanks for coming up, Daryl. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you to both of you guys. God bless you both. I'll be in touch with you both. Especially Nelson. We got we can talk. And God bless you all. You have a great evening. Thank you, Hanifa.
Please, Daryl. Okay.
Right. Great to talk to you again.
All right, Nelson. So I want to go ahead and wrap up because I don't want to take you over the hours because, I'm sure you have stuff to do. So do I. And so in closing, what do you want to say to someone who might be listening? And I mean, I think we all learned a lot from you today. I just want to put that out there. I learned a lot. There's a lot of things I thought I knew that I it just blew my mind. And some of the lengths that people who are narcissistic are willing to go to feed their own egos is it's just amazing to me. But I just want you to leave us with some words, whether it's some words of encouragement, some steps that people could take. What do you want to leave us with in reference to the topic of surviving a narcissist?
Yeah, so if you have had any kind of contact with a narcissist, maybe you have a loved one that is, maybe you're in a relationship with one, really begin to do the work of the self-evaluation and literally looking at all the criteria points to see, is what I'm seeing like really narcissism? Because it's important. You can have your whole entire worldview, your self-esteem can be destroyed by someone that comes into your life and makes you feel less than. So I never want anybody to ever feel. I always want people to have a sober view of themselves. I would like for you to be a confident person, have great self-esteem, and not take it to the extreme, because we have a tendency to overindulge in self-love, and then we call ourselves kings and queens, and throw all the terminology out there that we kind of love bomb ourselves sometimes. And then we have the polar opposite, where we're like self-debasing, where there's nothing good about me. Nobody's ever going to love me. So having a sober view of yourself, knowing that you are inherently somebody of worth, that if you are in a relationship that is abusive or narcissistic, to gather up the strength to leave, to confront it, to leave, and to know that you are not crazy. You are definitely not alone, because a lot of us have experienced these type of personality traits, and to just keep moving forward and doing the self-reflection work and changing your core value system. If you associated with money, power, and respect before, like to where you always thought about chasing after the bag and things like that, think about some of the lesser known ones that carry a little bit more weight. Think about the integrity, think about the loyalty, the wisdom. What does that look like in practice? And how can you display those characteristics on a normal basis? Because I guarantee you, if you start focusing on them, if you focus on integrity, wealth comes. Because think about being on a job. You get promoted when somebody sees that you're a person of good report, when somebody sees that they can trust you with more responsibility. So don't shun those lesser known qualities, and really just work to improve them. And that's all I have for you.
Well, once again, Nelson, first of all, I want to thank everyone who have hung out with us today and stuck it out and took in the information. Make sure that when I end the broadcast, if you guys, I put Nelson's channel also in the chat. Make sure you guys go ahead and subscribe to Nelson's channel. And just let me know when the broadcast is ended in the comment section of it, just what you got from it. If it helped you in any way, I love the feedback, so please do so. And Nelson, I will be bringing you back, because you said some things about some topics that I really want to get into. And that, like the gaslighting, the love bombing, like those are topics that can stand on their own. Okay. So I will definitely be in touch with you. I appreciate you for sharing your vault of knowledge. Okay. For kind of like giving us a little bit of yourself and a little bit of your time today. I appreciate you. I appreciate your energy, your calm demeanor. Thank you for blessing this platform with your beautiful energy. And I look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you so much, Nelson.
Oh, thank you. Anytime you need me.
All right. Peace.
Take care.
Okay. All right, guys. So I am going to go ahead and wrap up. Again, just leave your comments in the comment section afterwards and let me know what you got from the live tonight. Before I leave, let me just make sure I shout. If I saw Quantum, I wanted to let her know. Salute to you. Thank you for passing through. Curtis, thank you as usual for your support. DC Butler, thank you for your support. Let me see. Yeah, Taylor Nubia. Yes, thank you. As long as you are breathing, you can always change. I feel that way as well. I always have a little bit of something in me. I always leave a little bit of space for people to change. Of course, I'm cautious with it as I, grow, but I leave a little bit of space as well. Ashan, thank you as usual for supporting me. Thank you. You push me more ways than you know, so I appreciate you. And I am a fan of Nelson's as well. That's why I brought him on the platform. Danique said another one, Quantum, and he said, I got a diagnosis of narcissism. I love you guys. And I see late but great show as always. Keep educating us. I appreciate that, sis. Thank you so much. But until next time, guys, I want to say thank you for the support, and I am out. Peace.